Other than the midsize four-door sedan segment, the most hotly contested segment in the automotive industry is probably the 6 and 7 passenger SUV and crossover market. You have a plethora of vehicles vying for people's dollars. Everything from the Ford Explorer to the Mazda CX-9, the Dodge Durango, the Chevy Traverse, the Honda Pilot, the Toyota Highlander. Well, today we're going to have a look at a different competitor here today on Rumblestrip.NET and 10-minute test drive. We're going to have a look at the 6 and 7 passenger Hyundai Santa Fe. Almost a year ago, we had a chance to drive the Hyundai Santa Fe Sport, which is the 5-passenger version of this vehicle. It is on a shorter wheelbase, similar styling. Obviously, a shorter wheelbase means it's not quite as long, but it was a 5-door. It was a very good car. We liked it a lot. We thought it was highly competitive in the segment. So when we had the opportunity to try the 6 and 7 passenger, we were pretty excited. And also because we were using it as a lot of families would use it, and that's on a big road trip. We just got a new English Mastiff puppy for the family, and we had to drive 550 miles to eastern Pennsylvania, essentially on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border in Easton, where they make Crayolas and Easton bats, among other things. So we wanted to know, in trying out this Santa Fe, how well does it work as a family truckster? Now, maybe most people aren't going and getting new pets and taking their current one with them on their trips, but it is a road trip vehicle for families. So how does it work? Does it perform as you like, in the sense of eating up miles and making it easy, and, you know, ending your day if you're driving 10 or 12 hours without feeling like you've been beat up? Well, let's take a dive inside and talk about it some more. So, as a road trip vehicle, as we said, what you want is a vehicle that's relaxing to drive, comfortable to drive, not stressful, that can deal with, you know, traffic, that can deal with weather, which we happen to have on our road trip. As we said, it was about 550 miles each way, so by the time it's all said and done and driving around a little bit, we put almost 1,200 miles on this vehicle in 37 hours. That was us leaving our house, driving to Pennsylvania, and coming back. We stayed the night in Pennsylvania. And in that time, we got just shy of 25 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good considering you're driving a good, pretty good sized vehicle, and you're driving through the hills of Pennsylvania, which, if you've never driven through the hills of Pennsylvania on I-80, it's a lot of this, up, down, long grades. Don't get caught behind the semis. Whatever you do, don't get caught behind the semis. Although most of them would do a pretty good job of, keeping to the right. We drove through some storms and some heavy downpours where you really couldn't see more than about 30 feet in front of you, and a lot, just rain coming down in buckets, and it was perfectly steady. Now, this is an all-wheel drive model. Does that make a difference over a front-wheel drive model? In the rain like that, probably not. If it's a winter storm, yes, it would probably make a difference. And again, I guess that makes it even better when you think about it. All-wheel drive and 25 miles per gallon on the highway on something that carries 6 and 7 people. Now, we say 6 and 7 people because in the configuration of this limited model that we have, it is a 6-passenger, meaning the second row is 2 captain's chairs, and then the third row is just 2 regular seats, which are, suitable for small to medium-sized children. I'm not sure I want to put an adult back there for any kind of real length of time. That said, when you start folding everything down, it opens up, the room opens up quite a bit. Now, in our case, we would almost prefer the 7-passenger version just to have the flat floor across the center row, where here we had a hole. Now we've made use of that by stuffing luggage and things like that to try and create a little flatter surface. And in folding the seats down, the second row down, if we're going to ding it a little bit, it's the fact that it doesn't fold flat. And one of the things you notice when you're dealing with animals and you load a crate in, having a flat floor is nice. And, you know, I suppose if you've ever hauled anything in one of these, you know, as far as materials or pets, you know what we're talking about. If you don't, then you probably don't care. So now with the 7-passenger, does it have the same issue? If memory serves, I think it does still not fold completely flat, but we could be wrong. I'd have to go and check on that, and don't have that available at the moment. One other thing we wanted to really talk about was the nav system in here. Now, this is a nav system that's on the higher, well, you can say higher end, but more the top line models. It has what they call traffic junction in it, which means as you approach a junction on the highway, it will say, you know, which exit, what highway you're on, and give you an indication of which way you need to go. It also has a countdown on it as you approach the junction. So it starts at, I believe, 2 miles, or it could be a mile, and then it counts it down both on the display and in the center display between your speedometer and your tachometer, which, you know, it's kind of cool. So in all your directions transfer over there as well. Buried in the nav menus was something else that was very useful on a long road trip. And if you have kids, I'm sure you'll find this very helpful and useful. Is that in a sub menu when you're in the map view, you can pull up, let's say on I-80 in Pennsylvania, or I'm sure most other highways, you have rest stops. It'll tell you how long till the next rest stop. In fact, it listed the next 3 rest stops and the distances. On the Ohio Turnpike, it listed the service stations or the service centers, you know, where you fuel and food and go to the bathroom. And again, same thing. It gave you the distances to those, so you could judge when was a good time to stop, or give, you know, if the family's, you know, nature's calling for the family, you can say, all right, 15 minutes, just hold it. So, you know, is that a common thing in any kind of good navigation system? If, you know, an aftermarket kind of navigation like a TomTom or a Navigon or Garmin, yeah, it probably is. But it's the first implementation I think I've seen that good in an OEM vehicle. So enjoyed that. I liked it a lot. One thing we didn't get to try is the BlueLink app, which allows for remote start. There is no remote start on the key. However, there is an app that you can download that links up with the BlueLink system in the Hyundai, and you can do a remote start on that. So why? I suppose everyone has a smartphone, or most people have smartphones and they always have them with them. Yeah, I guess that's cool from a tech standpoint. I'd just rather have it on the key, to be honest with you. One thing that would also be nice, which isn't in the system yet, is on very hot days, which we've had in this vehicle, or cold days in the winter, not only to start it, but also to set an internal temperature, so that when you get in, it's, you know, like, well, it was a period of about 10 days where we had 90-degree temperatures plus and 70-80% humidity here in southeast Michigan. You know, getting into a car that's got a sunroof that goes the entire length of the roof, you know, if you didn't close the shade, even with the UV reflective material on it, it still gets damn hot in here. Getting into a vehicle that, you know, where it's been baking and it takes, you know, a few seconds for the air conditioning to kick on, yeah, it'd be nice just to preset that. Or in the winter, you know, turn on the heat. Now, one thing we're actually a little surprised on is something maybe Hyundai missed in the contenting here. And Hyundai usually does a pretty good job of contenting their vehicles. This has heated seats. It doesn't have cooled seats, and that actually surprised us a little bit, because we've seen cooled seats in, you know, $25,000 Kias, which is a sister company to Hyundai. The fact that it doesn't have cooled seats, is that a deal killer? No, but it's almost something you've come to expect from Hyundai, of having that level of content. The third row passengers have their own controls for the heating and air conditioning back there. There's a switch to turn it on and off, and you can adjust the temperature and the fan speed, which was great because on the day well, while we were driving out and on the way back, it was, again, a very hot day, high 80s, very high humidity, and the dogs were able to be kept cool because we could run, the air conditioning in the back for them with the fans blowing on them to keep them nice and cool. So we like that. And again, is that anything super special? No, but just how all the layout of it was well done. So, in talking with the Hyundai PR rep, they said there were vehicles like the Ford Explorer, the Dodge Durango, the Mazda CX-9, Honda Pilot, and Toyota Highlander, which were cross-shop most against this vehicle based off their research. We've had some experiences in most of those vehicles. A few we haven't. The Highlander, yeah, it's old. It's about due to be replaced. Is this better than the Highlander? Yeah, miles. Better than the Durango or the Explorer? Yes, in a lot of ways. But to us, it's not a apples to apples, because those two vehicles to us are more SUV and this is more crossover, if that makes sense, in the sense of this is a family truckster, those are 7-passenger SUVs. Are we cutting a pretty fine line on that? Yeah, we are, but that's how we see it, so that's how we're going to call it. The vehicle, although according to the Hyundai rep we talked to, it's not cross-shopped at, but we think is a pretty direct competitor, is the Chevy Traverse. Now, if you go back, and we'll put a link in here to our Chevy Traverse review, we weren't impressed with that vehicle. Expensive at $43,000, and that wasn't a top-line model with, it wasn't leather. It was, genuine imitation Naugahyde kind of materials, hard plastics, bad fuel economy, and as we said, like a $43,000 price tag. We didn't think that was anything special. Here, the leather, is it high quality leather? No, but it's good quality leather. There are soft touch materials throughout. Of course, there's going to be hard plastic and some high touch point areas. You kind of expect it. Again, family truckster, you want some durability. But as we said, 25 miles a gallon, an interior that's much, much better. Hey, it's even got a heated steering wheel, okay? At $38,450, I believe, is the sticker price on that. To us, that's a hell of a deal for what you're getting here. The ability to carry family, to go, as a road trip vehicle, as high, with a good quality content in here. So, is this the best in the segment? It's got to be close. I mean, it's hard to get, when you're a muscle car, we drive a 525 horsepower Mustang, okay? It makes 455 at the wheel, so you can do the conversion, whatever. Like sports cars, like performance cars. So can you get excited about a family truckster? Yeah, if it does what it's supposed to do. And this does. We think this does a really good job. And we like this vehicle. Now, my fiance, she's driven this a little bit. She works for one of the big 2.5, okay? I won't say which one. And she loves this thing. And she's very particular. So what does that tell you? That someone who works for a Detroit automaker looks at this and says, this is good? That should tell you something. Okay, maybe it says something about some of the stuff coming out of Detroit, but a lot of the stuff out of Detroit is actually pretty good these days. But that's how good this Hyundai is. So to wrap it up, being a little long-winded, this was, in many ways, the perfect road trip vehicle for what we did. We did 1,200 miles in 37 hours, 25 miles a gallon. The dogs were comfortable. We were comfortable. We were able to do 10-hour drive. Got home, got to, when we driving back, we weren't tired and beat up like, oh my God, that was a horrible road trip because it was so hard to drive. Nah, it was cake. And really, that's what you want in one of these. go drive one. Go check it out, especially if you can get it for a day or two. This is phenomenal.